Hello everyone and welcome back to the Educational Currency Podcast. I'm Chris Kalavakis from Maximum Education.
I'm Robert Namoski from the Coaching College and Ultimate Jiu-Jitsu. And today we're very excited, I'm very excited to introduce one of my bosses. I knew I'd get a laugh out of her because she got newly promoted, a very experienced teacher. And actually, she's Head of Wellbeing, Miss Mary Nicola. Welcome on to our...
Thanks. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Simon. It's really exciting to be
here. Yeah, absolutely. So just to recap on this season, with Chris and Kate, we decided to actually bring in teachers of different levels of experience. And so far, we've had a beginner teacher, Alana, and we've had a newly proficient teacher, Luke. So with Mary, we couldn't have picked a better guest, someone who is very passionate about teaching, and it's what we want to bring across in this podcast. So Mary, tell us a little bit about your educational journey. Like, at what point was it a high school teacher that convinced you to be a teacher? What was it that you went, okay, I'm becoming a teacher?
So funnily enough, I didn't think I was going to be a teacher in the beginning. I didn't even do a Bachelor of Teaching in the beginning. I finished Year 12 really only liking business studies. It's my favourite subject. Probably was because of my teacher, who funnily enough later employed me. My business studies teacher was Francois David, our previous principal at St Mary's. And I think what I loved about him is just he made the subject so real. It was authentic and it related to my life at that point in time. And so leaving that, I didn't even put it on my UAC or any of that. I did really well in the HSC, and I thank God and my school at that time. And so I went to St Mark's, Coptic Orthodox College, the school that my kids are at now. And so when I finished, I didn't know what to do, but I knew I liked business studies. So I applied for a Bachelor of Business at UTS and did that for 3 years.
What year did you?
So I graduated 2003 and finished my bachelor's in 2006. I got into the graduate program at Optus. I did marketing for a little while and very, very quickly realized two things. I hated the corporate world and I hated money, which is hard when you work in business. Yeah. So I had a bit of a careers crisis. And I remember very distinctly standing at Central Station coming home from North Sydney. And I called Francois then and I said to him, hey teacher, I don't know what I'm doing at the moment and I hate what I'm doing. What do you reckon? What should I do? You've always given good advice in class. Well, I don't know what to do. He goes, why don't you come and do a casual day? Wow. I'm like, is that allowed? He goes, yeah, just come. At that time, I was teaching Sunday school at church at St Mark's in Arncliffe, and I liked it. So I thought, okay, it couldn't be too different. So I chucked the sickie and I did a casual day and I fell in love straight away. Straight away, I saw purpose and meaning. And I thought, well, if I loved business studies at school, then I can teach business studies at school as a teacher. And so I retrained. I went and did my Masters of Teaching and was full-time employed back at St Mark's, the school that I graduated from. And I haven't looked back since. And all I've ever done was teach in Coptic schools, and I went from St Mark's in Wattle Grove to St Mary's, back to St Mark's, back to St Mary's, and now we teach together at St Mary's. So that's my journey really. And yeah, I wanted something real and meaningful and purposeful, and I couldn't think of anything more genuine than teaching the next generation. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We all agree teaching does that.
How amazing is that? Like, so you contacted your old teacher.
Yeah.
And he just gave you this advice, like, come on down, come on in.
Give it a go. Yeah. Just give it a go. So, I don't know, if whoever's watching, take note of who your favourite teachers are and grab their numbers, I guess.
And get in touch with them too. But it also shows that mentor role he must have played for you as a student too, which... Absolutely. I'm sure that you carry on now as a teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me just how important a role teachers really do play in the moment, in that subject matter, in the classroom, but very much so in your future. Very much so.
Right. Every single one of us have a very similar story. Absolutely shapes your life. Yeah. There's that certain point that someone comes in and whether you're nervous around them or you go, okay, want to impress them, and then all of a sudden everyone similar that's ever sat on that table has had a very similar story where they go, yep, okay, I'm becoming a teacher. Yeah. It's almost like a sign you can pick the kids.
Yeah, I think so.
But from your perspective, what's been the most challenging thing as a teacher?
I think changing has changed dramatically since I started. So I started teaching in mid 2007. Since then, what hasn't changed? Like so much has changed about it. No thanks more so to Nessa, I guess, for the constant change. But no, the kids have changed. Technology's changed. Parents have changed. Expectations have changed. And more than anything, student well-being has totally changed. And I guess the background that I'm in now, I can safely say 60% of my day is spent on student well-being, 40% is spent on actual academic teaching. So the climate has changed. Even universities and their expectations of students has changed. So everything about it. And because of that, it's only given me more reason and purpose to keep trying to do what I do, because I really, really feel sorry for the current schooling generation and the generations to come, because I think they have it so much harder, to be honest.
So as a parent, what do the parents need to watch out for? Like when you're mentioning all these changes, and you're going, okay, compared to say when I went to school was say 2 generations away from when you went to school. I finished HSC in 1991. Yeah. It was a very different time. To say 1999 would have been your HSC.
2003.
Your HSC 2003. Yeah. Just that time gap was different to 2013 now to 2025. So you've always got that 10-year age gap where you go, okay, as parents we lose track of things. Now we care for our children, and we send our children to these schools. Yeah. So what advice would you give to parents with the changes that obviously, have been out of touch since their schooling days? No pressure.
Look, I feel sorry for parents. Yeah. I really do. I feel sorry for today's parent and the parents to come, because life is changing so quickly. I think if we weren't teachers, we probably would be in the dark in comparison to parents who aren't teachers. So I feel really sorry for parents today, because their children's life is a mystery. So much is happening in school and online, especially, they are just so unaware of. And I talk to parents all day throughout my position in wellbeing, and parents are under this illusion that because the door is closed and the kids are quiet, they're studying. And it breaks my heart to break their heart that that's actually not the case.
Now we've done the podcast here where we turned around and mentioned, okay, as teachers, they've opened their computers. We have to supervise them to do their work. Yeah. And there's even points in my class where I make it very clear, if I catch you, you do not bring a computer in my class ever again. Now, imagine that in a bedroom. You do not assume your child is studying in a bedroom with a computer on their own. Living room, table, get a copy of the book. I've even, for example, for my Year 11 standard class, I print the chapter off. Is printer off, hard copy on the table. And scientists have proven that you actually absorb information more with a pen and paper and writing.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell my students, God gave us 5 senses for a reason. Let's use all 5 senses. So I say the way I studied as a child is I read, I used my eyes, I highlighted, I'm using my hands, I took notes, I answered questions, I even stuck things on the board and, spoke it into a CD recorder thingy, and then would listen back to it. So, but this constant staring at screens is so damaging. And sometimes I shake my head to think about, the people who are sitting in their, tall ivory towers who are putting NAPLAN online. I want to put HSC online. I just shake my head thinking, people have to come down to reality and see what we as teachers are being challenged by every single day.
Yeah. And your role specifically too, when you say that you feel sorry for, the parents right now and what they're going through, I think a lot of teachers don't fully understand what sometimes wellbeing role sees. Especially in your past, you were a year coordinator for a while. And at that level, I'm sure you got great insight into the student. But now being in leadership too, there's a lot more extreme cases that you're dealing with now as well, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, our principal started the year with us making sure we go through our mandatory child protection and MRGs and whatever. And in the beginning of my career, I used to laugh that stuff off. Like, oh, yeah, that stuff doesn't happen in our school. You know, we got good children. And we do. We have great children. But just the same token, our children are being rocked by society and social media and all the hurdles that come with that. They're not immune, no matter how hard we try to shut it down and, you know, put in the firewalls and you know, the government wants to ban social media for under 16s, and you know, it is a minefield. It might and it's so difficult. And so like Rob said, and it's unfortunate, but we end up having to be these helicopter teachers, whether we like it or not, because they're just not built. Children are just not built with the mechanism to have to deal with that level of, you know, constant stimulation. Us adults barely have the capacity to deal with the constant stimulation.
I don't think even adults have the capacity.
Yeah. So I feel sorry for them. The things that have been revealed to me, and I always say to the students, nothing you can say to me will surprise me or shock me, and there will be no judgment. But deep down inside, when they tell me, I'm like, my God, you're so young and you're exposed to so much. And I think if you're telling me and not telling your parents are clueless. And parents are, unfortunately, because, and again, you probably could both attest, the students feel much more comfortable and trusting to tell their teachers than their parents. And so, I feel for the parents. They're battling things they can't even see. So it's hard.
I know it does, and it becomes very intricate, that position, doesn't it? When you know that a child is telling you something and they haven't told their parents, and you know, you're kind of encouraging, well, this is something you might need to say, or it comes to a point where you realise, well, look, I've got to disclose this in certain cases as well. But I know it puts a lot of pressure in your own position to. What does your classroom feel like? Tell us, what's it like to be in your room?
Look, I'm quite theatrical as a teacher, and
cool.
I don't mean to be, but maybe because of my background. So I'm Egyptian, and Egyptians talk with their whole body. So my hands are all over the shop, and my voice can definitely project for someone of my size. So my
daughter's told me.
So I taught Vera last year in history, and I think I acted a few things actually in history. But I just feel like teaching and learning, it should be a journey. Like it should be an experience. Again, that's probably why I loved my business studies teacher, Mr. David, because he was this tall giant of a man, Rob, and I was this teeny tiny student, and he paced the room and he moved around and he kept my attention. So my business studies class is very real. So the kids will know about my property and my investment and my loans and my mortgages, and they'll know about my brother's business and my dad's business and my mum's business, because, you know, if learning can't be real and applicable to a student's life, then it's theoretical and it's stuck in a book. So I'm a very, very real teacher. I'm a very relational teacher. And I will usually call them kids, and they tell me that, like, Miss, we're not your kids, we're your students. I go, no, you're my kids. So my jersey last year said, Mum, Mrs. N, because unfortunately some kids are calling me Mum at school. So I'm very relational. And I think respect is everything. And I think when students realize, sometimes I call them by their name, like, yes, Mr. So-and-so, or yes, Mrs. So-and-so. I'm like, oh, wow, like, you know. So respect in my classroom goes a long way. And I have to say, I don't have much, if any, type of behaviour management issues in my class. My students are great. They're really, really good. They're very respectful, and they let me do what I need to do to get them to learn. And that's not to say I have geniuses, by no means. No. I have a plethora of different learning abilities in my class. But I'm lucky because I get to teach this subject that is so real to them. And I tell them to do this, you know, funky thing called watch the news. And when they do, they realize, oh my God, Miss, everything you're saying is real. I'm like, I told you. So I think being real and authentic, and respectful, it just helps massively. So, yeah.
And it's great that you make those connections too, because that's funny, because I think it's been brought up quite a few times with the curriculum that's taught in schools. That we don't teach those life skills in the area of business, how to manage a budget and things like that. And the fact that you can give that context from a real world, like they surely would be engaged, like, oh, I can be successful this way. These pathways work. And you're right, it's not just out of a book.
100%. Look, I did 3 to maths, Rob, at school. And I have to say, I found it challenging, not because I couldn't, follow a formula and apply it. It's because I just couldn't relate it to my life. So that's why I loved business studies. I loved economics. I loved commerce. It just, maybe because my dad worked in business and my mum were in business, I can relate it to the house and what was happening at home. But yeah, like I think reality, like our Year 12 coordinator has totally rejigged pastoral care for Year 12 so that it's real. So he's teaching them how to apply for a credit card, how to sort out an itinerary for a holiday, what's a mortgage, what's a credit check. They're doing that driver's course thing in a couple of weeks where they change the oil and the tire, like life, how to get on with life. So yeah. That's my 2 cents worth, to be honest.
Oh, look, more than 2 cents.
Yeah,
it's great advice for younger teachers. So, what advice, one bit of advice, you would give to a beginner teacher? And where do you see, beginner teacher walks in, what qualities do you see where, okay, this teacher's going to make it, and another quality where you say, okay, this looks like trouble?
Look, I think don't overcomplicate it. Again, I probably feel more sorry for the up-and-coming teachers because they actually have so much available and they don't know what they need to use. Yeah. Whereas, again, I think maybe back in our early days, it was the textbook. You were given a textbook. And that's where it all had to come from. And then the internet, and then there was stuff there. Now we have so much available, Atomi and Adrolo and YouTube and this and that. So I have a new scheme teacher who started in my team, and I said to keep it simple. Just go through your program, create a very simple basic lesson. What outcome do you want to teach? And if it goes pear-shaped, that's okay. We'll start again. So keep it simple is probably my first piece of advice. My second one is don't be scared to struggle because it's going to be a struggle. In the first, I think probably it took me the first 3 or 4 years at minimum where I started to finally find my feet, So don't be scared to struggle because probably everybody else is. They're just cracking a smile on their face. And ask for help. Don't be scared to ask for help. I'm forever asking my new scheme teacher, how's everything going? Can I take your sport period this afternoon? You've had a 6-period day. Let me take it. So I'm forever asking. And I think as more experienced teachers, we have to mentor and support our new scheme teachers. Because let's face it, the behavioural challenges are getting harder, the parents' expectations are getting more, the admin is difficult, NES is changing things too quickly, so we have to support our new scheme teachers or else it's going to get even more dire than it already is.
This is the whole point of us having this podcast, is to get teachers like yourself on to actually show younger teachers, reach out for that support. We've said it nearly every single teacher we've interviewed in here. You can almost see that common language.
What you said then, Mary, too, actually, I've never really applied it to new teachers. I have thought about it with our students, that information overload and the access, and, as you said, with social media too. But now with AI as well and everything, there's just so many ways they can go. And I guess that is overwhelming. I never really thought of that for a new scheme teacher, how daunting that might be. Because, I came out with a textbook for this subject I can start teaching that way. And as I got a bit more mature, I was able to get more creative with it and all that too. But they've got so much going on and understanding just the structure and mechanisms in place within a school.
Absolutely. And differentiation and all of that. AI. Oh my God, AI.
He's the expert.
I am not the expert. He says it to everyone, I am not the expert.
We're going to make you the expert.
Look, my 2 cents worth on AI is it's there, but you don't have to use it. And in fact, I'm finding I'm spending more time trying to figure out how to use it than it trying to save me time. So
Still haven't used it.
You'll be the last to use it.
I'll be the last one to use it.
Yeah.
That's what everyone tells me. But it's what then the second part of the question, what's the one trait where you've seen a passionate teacher fail? What is a warning bell you would recommend? Because a lot of teachers, young teachers, do watch this podcast.
Yeah.
And say kids in high school that would be interested in teaching, where they could turn around and go, okay, alarm bells, this is what I need to watch out for, from your experience.
Look, that's a great question. I think there definitely has to be some kind of innate ability to be resilient. Like, to be honest, I am seeing with the new scheme teachers, and again, it's probably no fault of their own. They're growing up in this social media, very digital age where everything they're seeing online is curated perfection. And I don't think they've realized the backstory behind how that teacher got to this level and how that teacher got to that level. So I think they're coming into it thinking, I'm going to get to that stage tomorrow. So I think a dose of reality, to be honest, is very necessary. They do need resilience, I have to say. It doesn't matter what school they're going to, in what area. They're going to have a bit of resilience to suck it up and realize it's not easy teaching children. It doesn't matter how easy that is. What age that is. So those two factors are a big thing. But if you're in it for the money, you're gonna need to find something else to do because the money's great outside. But if you want to make a difference, and if you want to work for passion and for purpose, and to be honest, 13 weeks of paid leave, because again, as I tell my husband, who's also a teacher, what other profession on the planet gives us both 13 weeks holiday and we're paid to spend time together with our family? So I think a bit of an attitude check as well. Like, we do have it good to some extent, to a large extent, I think.
Now, you've seen the corporate world.
I have. That's it. Yeah.
That's a sort of maturity in that when you're stepping into the teaching world, coming from another job.
That's it.
If you've gone university teaching, and I've seen a few teachers where they seem to stress out a lot with that, where you realize, okay, the grass is never greener on the other side.
Yeah, actually, that's very, very true. So, look, I know maybe the people who are watching this might not like what I'm about to say, but look, I'm all for the necessary MEAs and industrial action and all that jazz. But look, to be fair, as a teaching profession in this country, I actually do think we have a pretty good actually to be able to have a bit of that family work balance with all these new rules, especially about clocking off and not responding to emails after certain hours. That's great. That's great. So it's catching up. So
is it? No one told me.
Well, our new principal is very big on that. He's like, switch off. It's 4:00. Switch off.
Maybe I should read his email.
Yeah. So, but
no, it's good. Yeah. It's a very so how do you keep that balance? So you've obviously being in the leadership role.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the hardest leadership role.
Yeah, exactly.
Taking on all that, because we do worry about you. You got into that new role, and in all honesty, I went, okay, does she want to be a saint? Is this martyrdom? With the other teachers behind your back, with the other teachers were looking at her going, maybe we're going to have St Mary up here when the teachers may one day go.
No, hardly.
She sacrificed.
No.
But how do you, for example, you're in this leadership role, 3 kids at home, balancing a family life. How? Give us some advice on that.
Look, I'll actually fully admit, I don't think I have a balance, to be honest.
No one ever does. No.
Yeah, look, it's a learning journey. Can I say that? I'm learning very much so. Teaching without kids was so much easier. Yeah. I went home, I can still do my prepping and still have a meal and eat and talk to my husband. So it was easier. But once the kids came in the picture and they had to go to school and, childcare was, school was until 6 like childcare was. So like, oh my God, I have to pick them up at 3:00. So look, I'm learning every day to try and figure out that balance. Look, someone who struggles to say no told me it's okay to say no. And I laugh at that because it's the same person, again, who was my business studies teacher, who employed me first. So Francois was the one that said to me, it's okay to say no. He never said no, by the way. Yeah. But I am learning to say no. I can't do that. I'm actually learning to delegate much more. In my position especially, I have this amazing team of 2 other year coordinators who can do what I can't do, and then pick up from there. So I'm learning to delegate a bit more so I can find that balance. And again, to deal with my own, well-being issues, I've had to plaster it on my hands and realize that, I'm going to have to let go, and some things I'm just going to have to let God deal with it, because I'm not going to be someone saving grace. I'm going to assist to the point that I can, and that's it. So trying not to carry every student's burden as a personal, problem on my part to survive. Because you know what they say, Rob? If we're not in our best shape, we can't help anybody else.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I talk to myself a lot. Pretty crazy, but I talk to myself a lot and remind myself that I can't be everybody's saving grace. I shouldn't. We're in a team for a reason.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
It's a point of take care of yours. It's like when the oxygen masks fall from an airplane.
Yeah.
Make sure you're mentally ready,
Yeah.
fit, mentally ready, then you'll do the best world of good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be, and we will on this podcast in the next season. We're going to bring in a nutritionist, psychologist. We'll bring in a whole bunch of people to actually help teachers through this.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing giving the advice for well-being, and then it's another thing. That has to be. You have to take on your own advice first.
Yeah, we're going to practice what we preach, don't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. Look, I'm trying to, I made a New Year's resolution this year, and I said, I promise I'm going to work smarter, not harder. Again, my kids have forced me into that. I don't know if Rob sees it, but Tuesdays, Thursdays, I have to leave school at 3:30. I have to bolt, pick up my kids from Pickers, take them to Adel Park and bring them back home.
I think the school's pretty empty at 3:30.
Yeah,
Everyone's left.
Yeah. So look, last year I didn't leave school before 6.
Wow.
6:30.
Oh, wow.
They're big days, every day.
Yeah, massive days. But this year, because of my kids' schedule, I have no option. So, but I'm trying to work smarter. So I've bought this little steering wheel, little table, and as I'm sitting there and the girls are doing their 2 hours of training, I'm working. So when I get home, I have to switch off. So we're learning.
Yeah, you get like that when you get very, very busy. You get very, very efficient.
Yes. Yeah.
Very efficient.
That's it.
And it's almost like finding the little gaps
Yeah.
when you can get things done.
That's it.
And it's great advice. It's for your own sanity.
Absolutely. And if it doesn't get done, as I said to my students, to try and take my own advice, if no one's going to die about it, it's okay. It can wait till tomorrow. So yeah.
That's great. And obviously that filters to the family as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, because I'm a control freak and I feel like I have to make sure their lunch is, gourmet and everyone's got their stuff in their bags or whatever. My husband's constantly reminding me, it's okay. They will not starve.
Yeah.
And if they don't have their book, that's okay. They can write it on a piece of paper. So it's a constant reminder that we don't have to be this perfect, imaginary, curated version of anything. So yeah, but it's definitely a team. Teaching is a team sport. So.
Yeah. No, this is what makes it great. You step in, I stepped into a new school, nervous as, never worked anywhere else except. Didn't want to leave because I'm used to it. You've got everything. Walking in there, going. There's no coffee machine. Complained like hell to my wife about a simple thing like a coffee machine. She gets me that little contraption that I bonded with all the other teachers. Now making everyone a coffee, lining it up. But then you realise, wait a second, got to know every single individual teacher.
Yeah.
No better profession to work with.
Yeah.
The people care. Now, if you're caring towards the kids, you're caring towards everything else around you. And that's what makes it so easy, and that's another thing that we want to promote in this podcast is make sure that you don't burn out as a teacher.
Yeah, having the mechanisms to look after yourself. Know yourself, know your signs of when you are heading towards that direction too. It is so important, and that we look after our well-being. And I like that you said the oxygen mask thing, because if you don't put your own one on first, you're not going to be able to put anyone else's on to help out anyone.
I think in my situation, it's. What I was doing previously, teaching became, this is great.
Yeah.
All that pressure of getting the contracts in from all these things that we were trying to get through, where I turned around and went, man, this is actually rewarding.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I've taught for a long time in the tuition centre and the martial arts centre, but it's still, to a certain point, it's business orientated.
Yeah.
And you always have that pressure of the business. But when you're stepping into a school, you can just focus on the kids.
Yeah.
It makes the world a difference.
It is.
And that's how you started the podcast, actually.
Yeah, just chatting in the yard.
Yeah, chatting in the yard about kids' well-being and what we were rolling out with the Year 12s at the time with the Extension 1, Extension 2 kids. I'd give my sort of flavour in it. It can have its angles, but then you definitely take it to another level.
Yeah, that's what I was going to actually ask. So when did you realise that well-being was your pathway?
Look, I think I took it for granted growing up that my family background, my family stability, and the way I grew up was the norm. And I took that for granted, and I just thought everybody had it as good as I had. I don't think that that hit home. A couple of years into teaching when I realized, no, I'm in a classroom full of kids who are coming from all forms of family backgrounds, and, they're all carrying baggage, and that's having a massive impact on their ability to focus in class and to be present. And I don't know, I think it just organically happened where back at St Mark's, there was an internal promotion position where you can apply for year coordinator, and I read the job description and I thought, I'd be really interested into getting into this line of work. So I applied and I became the year 8 coordinator. Hardest job ever. Year 8 is a tough age. But you experience a win or two, and when I say a win or two, you experience a child who shows gratitude for giving them attention outside of just academics, and it's euphoric. Yeah. It really is. No one can pay you enough for that. And so you realise this is what it's all about. It's trying to help someone find their own version of success, because, again, I think in my community, certainly probably Rob can relate, there's so much pressure for these kids to succeed in what New South Wales defines as success, which is this HSC mark and then ATAR scores and then university. And my community laps this stuff up. And it's unfortunate because not every kid is built for that. And so they need some kind of recognition that I'm also good and I'm also, successful, but, fish out of water. If you're going to tell me how to climb up a tree, I'm going to fail. Yeah. So I found it rewarding to tell that child, no, you are successful and you are good and you're going to be great at whatever you put your head at, and it doesn't have to look like that. So that was euphoric for me, and I loved it. And I truly believe if you love something, you won't work a day in your life. Yeah. And that's what I felt like. So it kind of just came out from there, really. Was
there any one moment in particular where you went, okay, it's something that you can, in your hardest times, look back and go, okay, that was an absolute win for me?
Look, I'm very blessed in that because I teach generally year 11 and 12 classes. I'm at that end stage of their life at school. And this is both a blessing and a curse, but a lot of my students attend the church I go to.
So it's all locked in. Yeah.
So I see them post HSC and they instantly flip this switch, and it's no longer Miss, but it's Mary. And it's that moment, and they just want to pour their life out and tell you what they're doing. So there's this particular boy that I was teaching business studies, year 11 and 12. This was back before our beautiful $1 million campus was built. This was back when our campus was worse for wear. And he was a difficult student, to say it politely, and he didn't believe he had much going for him. And his parents, mum in particular, was very, very worried. And so I just took an interest to assist, and really all it was, but we believe in you. And you can and you will. And if you just try it like this, or maybe try it like that, and let's deal with what's, distracting you or whatever it is that's making you feel like you can't achieve. Yeah. that boy ended up going through into uni. He did his Bachelor's of Economics, went into a program through CommBank, and now he's so far up to wherever he is in CommBank. He comes to me now, and then he invited me to his wedding, and I was just blown away by the man that he had become.
Yeah.
He was this disgruntled student. Parents were talking about what he can do post-school because there was no way he's going to go to university. And he's this kid, he's walking down the aisle, he's got a mad career at CommBank, and you just think, okay, good. Didn't stuff up this one. So that's good. So,
it's a win because the way you think of Francois, he'll think of you. It's a reality thing where you realize as a teacher, you can make or break.
Yeah.
So you got to be very careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very careful.
Absolutely. Kids just want to be believed in, to be honest. And again, I feel sorry for them because unfortunately with the way our world works today, if you are lucky enough to have two parents at home, there's a very large chance both parents are working. And they're working very long hours. And when they come home, it's very quick dinner, quick homework, quick whatever, get in bed and restart. No one's talking at home. No one's having genuine conversations. No one knows what's going on in their children's lives. And they don't realize how much baggage and anxiety and ridiculous expectations these children think they have to live up to. And mum and dad think everything's just okay until, the crap hits the fan, unfortunately, and we have to bring them in and they're blown away at what we tell them. They're like, that's not my child. I'm like, no, it is. And we have to deal with it.
So as advice to parents, what are warning signs that you could tell parents to watch out for?
Look, if you start to see withdrawal, doesn't want to come to school anymore, disinterested, if the academic marks or the attention to their academics instantly or gradually have a massive dive. These are usually telltale signs that they're distracted by something. It's unfortunate, but pay attention and look at their arms, look at their legs. It is unfortunate, but the reality is, and it's very unfortunate, but especially for the young ladies, the cutting and the abuse on their arms and their legs, it's unfortunate. And so sometimes I'm weary of something and I'm looking at their wrists and I'm looking at the back of their legs. It's the ugliest part of my job. But if I don't, and I don't pick it up and I don't ask the right questions, these kids end up in hospital. So it's sad. But again, you cannot just assume this will never happen to my child. I talk to the most beautifully packaged children, and you'd be surprised what they're going through, what they've done. And usually that's actually a sign that says, I need someone to notice me. Yeah. No one's noticing me. So I've had to do this to myself so someone can ask about me. And that's actually usually what it comes down to. Yeah, mum and dad are super busy with work, very, very successful families. So I'm giving you a roof over your head. I've given you the iPad. I've bought you a Mac. I've bought you the latest phone. Why aren't you happy? Because you're not interested in my life.
Taking you on holidays and then just...
Yeah. I'm paying for everything. You got the latest everything. They're actually the kids who are most prone to doing pretty extreme things because they're not getting the authentic attention from their parents or their immediate family. So, yeah.
That's hard.
And I think you highlighted actually some really good stuff there too, in that, the twofold that I think the audience should know too, that we're seeing, like, there is that generational change in family structure. And oftentimes we are comparing to our childhood, not just us as teachers, but everyone in public. And it is different now, whether it is the family makeup or, as you said too, that we need to have two parents working these days, and that can lead to disconnect. And parents take on a lot of guilt, but they're trying to do their best. You are working those hours because you want the best life for your children and to send them to good schools and give them everything they can, and so everyone's kind of stuck in this position, and then sometimes these things creep up and we just don't notice it, So don't feel bad about those situations because we're all in it. We're all living it.
Absolutely.
And the key is dialogue and talking and looking out for those signs that you've just mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, when we end up having those parent meetings with the parents, I really do start by saying, please don't blame yourself. Like, don't blame yourself.
Yeah.
I usually say this in particular to single parent homes. That's the hardest job in the world. It's so hard to raise that child on your own, and you're juggling work and the expenses or whatever. So I remind them, it's not your fault. I'm a mother and I have a husband and I'm struggling.
Yeah.
So like,
all
that's
Aren't we
very,
all?
very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and look, and again, no judgment. Everyone is struggling. So if we shroud it in care and in no judgment, and this is the plan, and we can change the plan to make it work, we usually get success stories. And again, even success has to be defined and curated for the best fit of the child, because success for child A could be totally different for success for child B. And actually, half of my job is to educate the parent themselves. To be like, no, that is not appropriate.
Is that easier than the children?
That's very hard.
Yeah.
That's actually probably harder than the child, because I have to convince the parents and give them a bit of a dose of reality that that's not going to work for your child.
Yeah.
You know, I know you have these big grand plans, but if it sees your child suffer from anxiety and depression, and then we have to hospitalize them, then that's not successful for anyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because as parents, you worry so much that you're making the right decision.
Yeah.
And then even for example, with my daughter, which high school to send her.
Yeah. And where do you send her now, Rob?
St Mary's and St Mina's.
That's right.
And I have to admit, Francois was very convincing.
Yeah.
He was quite the character, and it was all due respect. He was very charismatic towards my daughter. He listened to her.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a question of, and it wasn't. And as a dad, I'm walking in here. We're going to interview your daughter. Actually, I'm interviewing you. You know, when you're stepping in, I just went quiet, sat in the background, and to me, it was his attention to detail, real attention to detail. It wasn't just about, certain outline results.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. It was his attention to detail about her that really sold it for us.
Yeah.
And more so sold it to her.
Yeah.
Because we had two schools back to back ready to go.
Yeah.
And I said to her, well, what do you think? And yep, he listened to her, and kids know if you're listening.
Yes, absolutely.
They know.
Yeah.
They know if you're fake.
Yeah.
They know if you're listening.
Yeah.
They know if you're genuine.
Absolutely.
You cannot lie to a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't matter what year you're teaching.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And this is the one thing that he did well. And and here we are. And it was here's the thing, it was a perfect fit for her.
Yeah.
I have to admit, coming into St Mary's and St Mina's for my daughter was the perfect school and a perfect fit for her. Now we've been having her dad there. Let's see how that works out.
Yeah. I mean, she walks straight past you in the hallway. So
She gets her acai for lunch, and thank God she said, you promised you're not going to come to the year 8, 9 camp. I went, that could be arranged, yes.
Yeah.
But then again, every school is a different fit.
Yeah.
It's every high school, any school offers positives and negatives.
Yeah.
And this is the thing as parents you have to weigh up. Is this school a good fit for your child?
Yeah.
And as a parent, this is where we stress out. you
Yeah.
know? And it's the one thing that you the parent know your child better than anyone else. Deep down, when we see a parent down across from us for parent-teacher interview, okay, you tell me what your child is like. I'm the teacher. I'd like to know from you. You're the one that raised this child. Make my job easier. Let me know.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because you were speaking about school too, and just how we're very focused on metrics. And sometimes that could be what you think people look at when they look at schools, or how well is it going to go in the HSC. But then you're in the area of wellbeing.
Yeah.
Although you know a bit about, you've seen student successes, there is no metric saying this many students go on and have happy lives or happy careers and all that. Yeah. And it's funny, that's kind of almost what you have to look for. Will my child be comfortable at this school to find success? And obviously you found that going through your process.
Yeah.
Like Mary said, it's the parents. It's the parents. Everything comes down to the parents. Now, I'm sometimes scared to say how much I work, but my job doesn't end. You go home.
Yeah.
Okay, my son's showing me his artwork. Man, I could be bloodshot in the eyes from writing maths for hours on whiteboards, etc. Mate, you focus that attention on that artwork. Nothing is more important than that artwork. And it's one of those things that as teachers we can only do so much. So I mean, as a parent, if you can focus on your child, then take the advice of the teachers, especially the way you two have been in wellbeing, then the child stands a good chance.
Look, and that's what we do. We listened. We listened to the kids, and look how empowered they felt. So, and that's actually all I do pretty much. I don't know if you noticed. They got me this new office, which I don't sit in.
She likes the staff.
Because you're not
we all
allowed to
hang
sit.
out.
Yeah, that's right. But I end up just sitting like on that table with the couch thingy just outside 108. I just sit there at recess and lunch, and the kids just come and sit and they just talk, and I just listen, and we talk as equals. And sometimes I think especially the boys, they're blown away that I'm listening, usually to the garbage that they're saying, but I'll listen and we'll fist pump and like whatever, and we'll dap or whatever they call it now, and whatever it is. But kids, they just want someone to listen and make them feel validated that, you know, what I have to say matters to someone, you know. And if it's an adult, that's a bonus, because, yes, we are very busy adults. And so while we really want to try and listen, it's just sheer nature in our day, we don't. So that's kind of the basics of what I do. I'm just happy to listen to what you have to say. And usually you'd be surprised how honest these kids are when you just listen. It's scary what they will reveal, actually. So.
Yeah,
it's interesting because obviously with you being so high in wellbeing, the key there is you know how to develop rapport. But you can't take that for granted from a teacher, can you? And I find just from my area in wellbeing, sometimes you've really got to get that message across to fellow teachers. Have you got any tips in that area in how you do that?
Yeah, that's so important, can I say, especially for new scheme teachers or even teachers that have come later in the game. It's actually not about the academics anymore. The game has changed. It really has, because the fact of the matter is, and I think something that COVID and lockdown taught us all is that the kids will be taught in one medium or another, whether it's through these online platforms or tutors or whatever, the kids will be taught. But kids now are coming to school for something else. And so, building a rapport with students will ensure you are going to be an authentic teacher. Like, it's hands down, it's what I've lived by. And when people ask me, you know, what is your pedagogy? I go, I'm a relational teacher. I listen to my students, I learn about their family backgrounds, and pretty quickly, when they trust me and I trust them, they will learn everything about my family, you know, and I use that to my advantage to let them know I'm real, so be real with me. So yeah, I highly recommend. And of course, professional boundaries, of course, you know, you got to be wary of that, you know, but be authentic, you know. Students aren't dumb. Kids aren't dumb. They know
straight away. Yeah,
absolutely. Build rapport, remain professional, but build rapport. Of course, be wary of your age. Young teachers and high school students, very close in age. So yes, seek advice, be careful. We have basic rules in our school: never alone with a student in the classroom. You know, if they say anything to you, everything goes on central. Have another teacher with you if you have those difficult conversations at all times. Never even have a phone call with a parent by yourself. Make sure there's always someone there as well, or central it. So we have rules, you know, and make sure you follow those rules to protect yourself. But rapport, absolutely. Build that rapport. And again, it's as basic as, how was your weekend? So what'd you get up to? Oh, I know you play soccer. Did you win that game? It's as simple as that. So.
Yeah. It also turns the school into more of a community, isn't it? And your school is a big community school, isn't it?
Yeah, that was something new as a, say, I'm actually, it's biased because I'm religious Orthodox, I'm a practicing Orthodox, so I stepped into the school and it just fit like a glove, obviously, you know. But then looking at that culture and going, okay, things move a little differently here. You know, people, I felt that the school kind of didn't feel like a school, almost felt people are doing more than a school. It's like almost like a church charity mixed in with the school.
Yeah.
So you're getting that more above and beyond from the teachers than what you'd get. Sometimes it can be to the benefit or the detriment of the teacher, because then sometimes the actual teacher can get too emotionally invested with what can be happening in the school.
Yeah.
And that can burn you out.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I found within the school, that the teachers are so involved, they pour everything in. They're working, they're hard in, but then there's that careful of, it's a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
You know, being, for example, how do I describe myself? I'm the most inexperienced teacher you find at the school.
Yeah.
So that's a positive and a negative when you're stepping into a school. It's never any positive, but so far it's for my experiences have been great. I mean, I've worked at 2 schools now, and both schools are super happy at.
Yeah.
Super happy. But to me, it was girls. I went, oh wow, okay. Well, I walked in there. Head of college walks over to me and goes, Robert, 2 of the girls are finding it hard to breathe in your class. And I went,
Why?
I don't know. I thought they needed asthma. It wasn't the windows. No, I kept it quite tight for the boys.
Yeah.
But then I didn't realize, well, they're quiet. They're just staring at me. They're fine. They're great. No, they're not.
Yeah.
You know, so then it kind of went, okay, let's see what the other teachers are doing. And I was staring at you a lot, staring at Dana a lot. Staring at the head of PE, she's quite good. I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? How is this working from all boys to a co-ed?
Yeah.
So from my question, do you have a different approach to the girls than the boys? Like, what would you advise a teacher like myself?
Look, it's interesting. It's an interesting question. Sometimes I do see that there is a very clear, distinct divide between how boys learn, how girls learn. And then sometimes it is very mixed, to be honest, actually. You know, so I don't know if I have an answer to it. You have to read the room. You need to read the room. You need to read your kids. You need to understand. You even got to speak their language. Like, you know, last year when I took Year 7 history, I kept hearing this silly word and I'm like, what in the world? And so I finally stood up in class and I said to this boy, hey, so-and-so, can you skibbity down to the office? I knew it was going to be skibbity.
I knew it was going to be skibbity.
Actually, what does it mean?
I have no idea.
We looked it up. I don't even think it's got a definition.
I don't know.
It's just this word you just say, skibbity.
Yeah, skibbity. Skibbity
Put
down
in the comments if you know
the
what it
office.
is.
Yeah, and grab my photocopy and the class erupted. Oh my God, misuse the word skibbity. So just, I don't know, don't be so serious. You know, it's like these kids are spending so much time in school. Make it fun and engaging and something that they're going to go home like, oh my God, Mom, Miss Nicola used the word skibbity in class. Like, I'm like, what? You know, so why not? Like, you know, and dab the kids and fist pump them and whatever. But like, girls and boys, look, girls like to talk. I find like the girls in particular, they want to talk and tell you everything and who went to the Drake concert on the weekend and what they did and what soccer game they played and you know, oh, Miss bought these eyelash extensions on the weekend. I'm like, no, don't put them on Monday, like whatever. So they just want to pour their heart out and talk to you, whatever. And the boys, look, some boys actually really, really, really want to talk. They do. They want to talk. And there are boys who are super emotional and you have to acknowledge that. You have to acknowledge that because they want to say something and maybe the parent at home is seeing them in a particular light and they're not allowing them to express themselves. I know one particular student who and I see it clear as day. They spend a lot of time on their own. They don't seem to fit into that particular group that they're in, and when you bring them aside and you talk to them, you've just unleashed a radio and they're just blurting it all out, and that's what they needed. They just needed to talk because their friends don't have the capacity to listen. That's okay. That's fine. So I don't know if they fit in a particular box per se. Sometimes they have common traits, but read your room, read your students. Get to know a little bit about them. We're lucky, roll call every morning. That's the whole idea. We have 20 minutes of roll call in the morning, and the whole idea is for the roll call teacher to get to know their child and to see the kids and what they're up to and, who did what on the weekend and, how did you go in that exam and blah, blah, blah. So, get to know your kids. That's how it's going to get real. So, yeah.
Yeah. And also I think a big part of that community aspect too, and getting to know kids too. And also with your role, do you have to run any extra activities as a part of the school? Like what kinds of things would that be at St Mary's and St Mina's?
Yeah, we do a lot. We actually...
You just opened Pandora's box.
All the Year 12 teachers at the moment are complaining about how much time they're losing because we do a lot. So we had Year 7 camp first week of school. We had Year 12 leadership camp just last week. We had the swim-in carnival today. We've got 2 more carnivals just this term.
Wow.
We're taking Year 12 off to Brisbane next term. There's so much on, and that's besides our 3 saint feast days. That's besides a mass on a Thursday for the different groups. So not every year, so we don't lose too much instructional hours. But there's a lot. We do pastoral care. We do activities. We do so much. So that it's not just academic overload all the time.
Yeah.
So pastoral care is my baby, and that's where we talk about, the prickly things. So anxiety and depression and healthy relationships and those difficult conversations, and yes, cutting and vaping and all those really difficult ones, and addictions and all of those things. We're currently going through that at the moment with a child who is a school refuser and is so addicted to gaming, parents cannot get him up in the morning to come to school. And so we're finding, a particular intervention for him. And we're very blessed to have a connection with our community counsellors, and they come in. And so we network a lot to try and, again, make it very, very real. We have priests on site that come and talk to the students who are comfortable. So we're a busy place. We're a small school. We're super busy.
Every time something's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone's walking through the hallways. So we went to Fiji last year for service. This year, God willing, we'll be going to the Philippines or Egypt. So we try and do things for these kids to see how real and how good they have it, but to expose them to, what they probably wouldn't see for their own selves. I think that's very, very good for the soul. The kids that we took to Fiji last year, we went for 10 days. They came back and they're super different. And we were actually very purposeful with particularly the boys we took, who probably don't look like they fit that perfect bill, but they came back very good.
Mature.
Very mature. They saw, I think, the light.
Enlightened from the experience.
You're grateful for what you have.
Absolutely. So we have Year 11 retreat happening at St Benedict's Retreat House. So we're trying to expose them to things because we know in our community the academic pressure is massive. So we have to give them outlets.
Built a gym as well.
We have a gym, that's right. And that's
what hurt input on that?
I take them for gym work.
Rob does. They've been initiated in all the rules around the gym. There's only 15 of them. They really need to earn it. You got all the prickly boys who needed it. And
good.
When that opened 2 weeks ago, I don't know if you saw me, Rob, I stood there and I looked up, and he had this group of boys who are a menace to every teacher. They were silent. And they were watching and they were lifting and whatever, and they were just in their happy place. And it was so good to see.
With boys, they want to emulate you. They want to be like you, and you're like, step right up. Okay, let's go.
Let me show you.
And then you just teach as a teacher and just adjust slowly. And then you give them all the advice on what you need to do to lead that healthy life, etc., and off you go. It's been great, the gym.
It has. It's been really good.
We went from no gym, and we have we've got a phenomenal head PE teacher. She's so up there with her knowledge on what you need to do, how we need to do things. And what was the principal's name?
That was Mr. Deans.
Mr. Deans. We had acting principals until we got one now, and then we had Mr. Deans come in and went, yep, okay, done.
He was visionary. He saw it. He saw what she was seing, and he just made it happen. It was great. It was awesome. So good. Yeah. It's really good.
And I get to do my sport research.
Yeah, I bet that's it. But also it's funny because they found a mentor in you, and that's the thing. All students will find different mentors throughout the school and different things that they'll try to see in the grown-ups at the school. And like, you know what? Maybe this is my way to success. Maybe this is for me. Maybe this is for me. Not always in the academic realm.
Yes, absolutely.
Look, the academic realm takes you so far.
Yes.
Takes you so far. I mean, you can be a fantastic doctor, but if you can't socialize, and that doctor wants to hang out with you.
100%.
Exactly.
100%.
You know, and I was saying that when we went around, when we took the year sevens for an art museum. So we're walking around the art room, and one of the year sevens goes, "Oh, how's this going to help me in my life?" There are 10 doctors in the room. 3 can design something nice that can work. 7 are going to be stuck swiping Medicare cards for the rest of their lives and hate their lives and their jobs.
Yeah.
Look,
That's it. That's
you
it.
know, absolutely. Giving that worldly education is everything. I mean, academics. Predominantly our kids study.
Yeah.
That's something we particularly don't need to worry about.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, they get burnt out studying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we have this very strong community-based school that offers all these well-being support advantages, but then on the other hand, there's that certain community expectation of, well, you failed as a child if I don't see you getting into A, B, C, D professions, you know, and then you realize that, well, you know, how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about educating the parent.
Yeah.
And that's what we keep saying. And look, I usually start my conversation, a hard conversation with parents by saying, do you trust me? And I ask that deliberately when I'm about to have a very difficult conversation, because if they do not trust me, whatever I say, they will not listen. 99% of the time when I need to have that conversation, they respond, yeah, we do. And they will be open to listen and to be receptive. The acceleration program in our school is super competitive. And so part of my job in acceleration is I look at the list in front of me and I flag the kids that I think will have, well-being issues because of the hours that they have to pour to make sure they keep up. And then we bring in our counsellors and they actually get assessed after task 1 to make sure that they're not drowning in anxiety that they might get kicked out of acceleration, and that if they do, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. And they generally come around. It's then the parents where we're like, it's okay. The rest of the country does maths at a normal rate. It's fine, you know. And when I tell them, I did 3-unit maths, I did it normal, and here was my HSC, the result. And like, you got that? I'm like, yeah, I did. Yeah. And I'm a teacher. And and that's why I usually say, do you trust me? I think once parents trust you, then you can pretty much tell them anything. Yeah. But that's big. It is. These parents are entrusting you with their babies.
That's right. The most precious asset.
The most precious thing in the world. Yeah. And so if we don't have the trust of the parents, we've lost the whole battle. So, so I think Rob hit the nail on the head with that one. You know, you just have to have these very real, very organic conversations. Be like, I have the best interest for your child and I can see what this program is doing for them, and it's not good for them.
If I came across to the child first, and then that child saw, or even in my standard 2 class. Now I work very hard for them, and I expect them to work very hard for me. So it goes two hand in hand. But even for kids that are working hard, try what I'm saying. See if it works out better for you. Just try.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a question of, and this time the child did. I think we, got me teaching martial arts, and then we were in there, grabbing and throwing each other, which is something great at this school.
Yes. We're flexible in that regard.
For now.
Until something happens.
Oh wait, wow, how good is this?
Yeah.
And then it worked. So the result was there, but the child can see when you're giving them advice that's beneficial to them.
Yeah.
And now my approach is, I will treat you like a mature adult. This is it, especially the year 12s. You are a young adult. Let's step into this world now, you know. Yeah. And I think in my case, that first exam I set for the year 12s was a shock of their lives.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even an exam that was hard. I'm talking on the board. I'm putting up my questions. I've done this with my tutor. Okay, great. Great, no problem, head down working. I literally gave an exam off the examples I put on the board.
Yeah.
Literally laid it out. Yeah. And then the one thing that I wanted, or like the one thing that I really got upset with them and went, okay, it's so academic, You didn't listen to me. I set an exam that I put examples up on the board, literally off the HSC curriculum. Get those examples together and redo them. You'll be fine. We are going to do well. But the one thing that I really got upset with them, you are not helping each other. I absolutely don't like this. Absolutely. Like this is, it's almost like, okay, we are academic, we are working hard, and this isn't just our school. This comes across to selective schools, to all the other schools. It becomes a sense of competition where, okay, I'm going to beat this person next to me and I'm not going to help them. And it causes the anxiety and the pressure. It reached a point where I'm getting emails so that I don't ask questions in class, right? Then I read, my wife actually showed me the article where North Sydney boys got together and helped each other.
Yeah.
They all worked together. After working together, they were able to beat St James Roos.
Yeah.
So I showed them that example into the class I was teaching. Then we've done the literature in here. When we look at all the research, you will never learn anything better than helping someone.
100%.
Never. And neurologists have done it. The research has done it. And with these kids that are pushed academically, where they've got that tension and that pressure, and they need to take a step back and help someone. Help the person next to you. That person is struggling with something in business studies. Explain the concept. Read their essay. Give them feedback on their essay. And this creates that environment for learning. Because I say to my students every single time, Sydney University, the last person that finished medicine, 500, do you know what they call him? Doctor.
Yeah.
If you want a competition, I'll show you how to compete. There are sports. Sport, you get first, second, third. Education, you don't. And to the parents and to the students out there, it is to your detriment in learning. You know, this HSC isn't first, second, third. We sing the national anthem and everyone's proud of them and forget fourth and onwards. So I think as teachers, we need to be aware of it. But as parents at home, be very, very careful of this. This is where I see, I've had in the tuition centre, such anxiety where I've literally removed them from doing their trials. And literally gone, forget it, don't worry about it. What do you mean? Don't worry about it, forget it. It is not worth it. We'll just go to the HSC, we'll be fine, you know? And you realise now, working in the schools, I realise, wow, okay, I'll get a better perspective of what's happening.
Where
Sitting
the
here,
coming from.
sitting here in the tuition centre, you kind of don't see that. You're trying to mop up after, and you go, but these are smart kids. It's society that puts the pressure on them. It's the parents that put the pressure on them. And I think to the positive thing, and I think to the positive absolute thing that we do very well in the school is the spiritual aspect. That I believe is what actually makes the child that was easy to turn them around. Because when you're tapped into a spiritual aspect of your life, especially maybe me and you can be biased in that with, you know, trying to, you know, constantly build that relationship with God, etc. And having that as your base, actually you can pull yourself away from being this super competitive person academically where you're trying to constantly, you know, crush and beat the person next to you, where you can actually tap into your spiritual side, that personal relationship that you have, you know, in our case, it's an Orthodox perspective, but it can be, you know, whatever your personal journey is, and actually turn around and see, well, actually, there is a better way of doing this.
Absolutely.
A more wholesome way. We actually get better marks.
Yeah.
But, you know, bring it across to the corporate world. Same thing. I've actually worked with one guy. He had 450 people paying $4,500 for 3 days in a seminar.
Oh, wow.
You wouldn't believe it. And Jocko Willink, I was one of the black belts that was, came along to help him in that seminar. He said exactly the same thing. You literally couldn't have spelt it word for word exactly what he said. He went, it's all about relationships. It's all about building that network, that connection. Even in the corporate world, it's not a competition of crushing the person next to you. It's a question of taking on responsibility for your own actions. It's how you interact with the people around you makes or breaks you. And it's something that that the kids, especially Year 12s, need to learn and learn fast.
Two things in what you said, I think, that we as teachers can assist to, break this mentality that it's a competition, is remind the child that say what is on your mind, even if the answer is wrong, it's fine. But I won't know that the answer is wrong if you don't say it to me. So, I teach a variety of different learning abilities, and you can see that quiet kid. There's something they want to say, and it's on the tip of their tongue, but they don't want to. And I don't actually move on until I'm like, I want to hear what you have to say. Say it. It's fine. Just say it. It's all good. But miss, I think it's wrong. It doesn't matter. But I won't know, and I can't help you, and I can't correct you if I can't hear you. So reminding the child that you don't actually have to have the right or perfect answer to talk. You actually can talk regardless of what the answer will be. So that's probably the first thing. The second thing is, and we all do it as teachers, flip the classroom around. Bring them up on the board and let them teach. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to sit there and assist here and correct there and mold this. And so I had to go on Year 7 camp on the second week of school. And because I'm a senior teacher, I didn't want to leave my Year 12s for 3 days. So I brought my 2 Year 12 business studies students from 2024 who got a band 6. I said, hey, can you come teach my class? And they're like, yeah, miss, no problem. And so the casuals sat there babysitting, and they taught.
It was great.
And they taught. And I checked in with my kids after. I said, how'd they go? They're like, miss, she was awesome. I'm like, very good. So again, it's that relationship. I'm so lucky to have that with my students after school, where I can send her an email. She sends me her number. I say, can you come teach my class? She said, no worries.
Wow.
She was
awesome.
great. It was great. I was the casual teacher actually.
So
what's she studying?
She's studying. One of them is studying architecture. The other one is doing business law.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think you've planted a seed. If something doesn't go right with architecture, welcome back.
Yeah. Well, she's gonna work with her dad, who runs his own business. So So it's good.
That's good.
Well, look, just as we're starting to approach the end now, obviously you are moving into a new position, obviously in leadership. What are some of your goals just for this year?
Look, that's a great question. So my new principal asked me that. He goes, what do you want to do? What do you want to achieve this year in this new role? And I said, look, one very tangible goal is I want to try and reduce habitual absence from that handful of students who are school refusers. Like I want to see a sizable decline in them not wanting to come to this space. I want them to feel comfortable, to come to a place that is not just going to give them academics. No, it's going to give them a place where they can feel belonged, they can express themselves, and they can leave the college feeling like, I did something with my life. Someone cared enough for me to make sure that I got called on the second day of absence. So this is something that we do with our roll call teachers. If there's a child in your class who's absent 2 consecutive days, pick up that phone and ask about them. You'd be surprised how powerful that is. When they get that phone call like, oh, you actually noticed I was away? And they come the next day. So I'd like to reduce habitual absence from school. The other one, which is I think bigger picture, is I want to make sure, I'd love to be able to just have open and honest conversation about student struggles where kids don't think it's taboo that they have problems. I want to smash these barriers down among students, which is going to be a mammoth effort considering what we're up against with social media. But I want our kids to feel comfortable to come to myself or Nicole, my year coordinator, or Sebastian, my year coordinator, or any of our roll call teachers and be like, Miss, I need to talk. Sir, I need to talk. Because it actually ends up being the other way around. At this point in time, for as long as I can remember, we get someone telling us, hey, you need to go talk to that person. Or the parent calls me, hey, can you talk to so-and-so? Or, Rob will notice, hey, Mary, I've noticed so-and-so, can you? So I'm being probed. I'd love for the child to just come to me and be like, Miss, I need to talk. So that's a rarity. It happens here and there. But if I can, smash these barriers down, again, especially in our community, probably, again, only aids and abets this social media curation of perfection where it's taboo to say that you have problems.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I teach Coptic Orthodox Studies for Year 12, which is like RE in Catholic schools. And in Year 12, we teach about Christian family. And part of my teaching is to talk about marriage. And I remember starting off my first lesson with Year 12 this term about marriage. And I said to them, let me be clear that it's okay to grow up in a house where parents are separated and parents are divorced and parents fight and dad has a bad day and mum has a bad day and that you have to spend weekends here and then weekdays there. That's totally okay. I am not here to judge. I'm here to try and explain how you can have your version of the best family. So again, breaking down these stereotypes and these madness around perfection that's so unattainable, so kids can just be the best version of themselves. So
I don't think it's a Coptic Orthodox thing.
Well, that's it. It's across the board.
It's just across the board. It really is,
Yeah. And as you said, abated by social media. And in relation to your first goal too, that's across schools too. Since COVID, no one's been able to get their attendance up. But the way you said it too was nice. Just being a safe place that they're not just coming for academics, but just to come, be comfortable. Like that's beautiful.
Yeah. So, and I've only given myself 2 because I figured that's pretty big.
It's to be manageable, balance. You're only human.
And congrats again on the promotion. We are so glad you took it.
Thanks. Thank you.
And would you like to ask the last question, Rob?
So, where do you see yourself 10, 15 years' time? Do we get a new head of college, maybe a future principal? Just putting it out there.
Safely, I'd actually probably will say no to deputy or principal. As I said it in my interview for Head of Wellbeing, I actually love being in the classroom. That's where the action happens. That's where you see the genuineness, the reality of your children. That's probably why I didn't move out into the other office, because it's so isolated. I need to see what's happening around me. So no, I don't think I'll move into further management. I feel like I need to be around students and the children, and I want to be on the ground. So
keeps you real,
yeah, it keeps you very real. The less higher you go, the less easier it is, I reckon, to get all the blame when things go crap. So I'm happy to stay where I am. As long as I'm needed, I'll stay where I am. And try and work at it to be a better version of what I can be for the students, for my team, for my college. When God doesn't need me anymore, He will take me to wherever He needs me to go, and we'll go from there. So I'll take one day as it comes for now and see how we go.
That's what will make you a great principal.
Oh, we'll
Absolutely.
We'll
Actually, and one more. There's someone out there that is thinking about becoming a teacher. What words of advice or encouragement would you give them?
It will be the best decision of your life to enter a profession where you will make a genuine difference in the next generation. It cannot come with a dollar figure. It will be euphoric. I tell you what, it will allow you to have the best sleep of your life. So don't be afraid to get into the profession. Truly, I said to someone very close to me, either you live a lifestyle or you leave a legacy. And so I hope teachers genuinely believe that they will leave a legacy 100%. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you very much, Mary. We're looking forward to
Thanks,
it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for bringing me on.
Well, absolute pleasure. We'll have to have you on again.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm Robin Amoski.
And I'm Chris Kaladikis. See you later, everyone.
Thank you all. See you next time.
That's all right.
Well done. That was